Hi, this is Kylie Coo. Welcome to my studio. So, this is week 4 of February in the Mixed Media Emporium Facebook group, and of course I'll leave a link to the group in the description box below. So, this month we've been looking at masterboards, and last week we did collaged masterboards. I did 2, and that's these here. Now, we've had a lot of fun in the group over the last week with our boards, but also in playing with certain apps that we can manipulate our pictures into wonderful images, almost beyond our imaginations. So Nina and I have decided that what we would do this week is something a little bit different, and we've both put together some sheets with our images on it, and we're going to give them to you in the group as a free download for you to use for your personal use. So the print shop I use is unfortunately closed at the moment just due to circumstances, but Nina's shop is still open for a click and collect service. So Nina very kindly, I sent my files down to her, and Nina very kindly got these printed for me and sent them back up to me. I don't have a printer at the moment either. So she's had them done on a couple of different thicknesses of paper, and has also sent me a set done on an inkjet printer. So thanks ever so much for that, Nina. Really so kind of you to do that. So the way I pulled my images together, I took some of my paintings, not my masterboards, but some of my different paintings. Some of them were some of the painted masterboards. That was my journal cover. And I've just made them in the main into smaller images so that these could be used as collage sheets. So we're giving you 3 different options this week in terms of this week's challenge. One is simply to make something with your collaged masterboards, and of course you can go back and do the painted masterboard prompt as well. Just make sure that you label it correctly in the group. The second option is you could do something with your masterboards and use these free downloadables that Nina and I are giving you. And I'm going to be using mine and showing you just what I'm doing with mine. And the third option is you can just use the downloadables and just create something with them. So when you're posting in the group, please just be clear to say what it is that you've done, and please remember to label it as February week 4. Okay, so aside from all of that, I have got, and they were just about falling off my desk here, I've got all these different folders with collage fodder in them. I just keep, well, way too much. So I'm going to put them off to the side, and in a moment I'll let you see some images that I'm thinking of pulling out, because I'm going to make mixed media postcards. So as usual, I'm going to put this on at a bit of speed because, well, you've heard me say it before, I work slowly. And this whole thing took me, well, I've got about an hour of footage, so I was probably working on these for about an hour and a half. What I'm going to do though is cut my masterboards in half, and then I'm just going to use a half of each, but I'm also going to cut them again in half to make postcards. So I just use my paper trimmer to cut them, and there you can see I've got 2 large pieces that I just put to the side. So these are about 5.5 by 4 inches, 14 centimetres by about 10.5 centimetres. This was A4 paper, so as I say, cut it in half and then cut one of the halves into half again. So just pulling out my collage, just going through that and looking at some images I might use. That's Robert Burns there. Yeah, so I keep such a lot of things, and some things I think I would probably never get round to using. But today I'm just thinking about those backgrounds. They're obviously quite different backgrounds. One's quite colourful, the other one was just book pages and maps, and a bit quieter, I guess. So I've decided on my 4 images, and now I'm just going to kind of fussy cut them. I'm not very good at fussy cutting, but there we go. And just looking at which way I want the postcards to go. In the end, I have 2 landscape and 2 in portrait. Also at this point, these are some of my words that I also cut out of magazines. I'm going to try and see if there are some words I want to use. Here I'm looking at my collage sheets and looking at what I might do. I liked that one with the Buddha, but actually I decided in the end to use one of the smaller size because, you know, if you download these, you'll see that I've included some of the images at different sizes just to give more scope. So just looking here at what they might do. I like that round one to go behind her. This one for her because it had the kind of pink and blue in it. And this one I just felt it looked as if the Buddha was kind of holding something. And that to me looked like a flower. That was from my journal cover right at the start of the year. So I'm going round this just the way it was. It's a bit misshapen, so I just take it in a little bit and I try not to cut a perfect circle, just to make it ever so slightly wavy, and I think that way it will look better. I didn't want to put this one on as a solid block, so I'm just tearing the edges, because what I will do also is something that will help blend it into the background so it doesn't look like something that's just stuck on. Now all I'm doing there is just kind of tacking down the Buddha onto that back piece so I know exactly where it's going to go. And I'm simply using a glue stick for all of this. So making sure the Buddha's fully stuck to that back piece and then sticking the whole thing down. Trying to go over it very carefully with the bone folder. You won't get that sense there, but sometimes these can rip a bit, so I was trying to be careful. Hair is always very difficult to cut, especially when it's kind of wispy and kind of sticking out, you know, those odd strands, but yeah, it didn't need to be perfect. So again, I just stuck her head to that back piece as a starting point, and now just gluing her down and into place. Just cutting the bottom part off there just very quickly just now because it was so big it was liable to lift the whole thing when it was flapping about. Now, some of you I know in the group said that you felt your masterboards were pretty bright, you wanted to knock them back. I will often do that with my masterboards. These ones I didn't, because I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with them, but you will see that I do actually start to knock them back a little bit with the next stage of the process. Again, this image here just seemed to go with that background because it had some pink in it. And there was a little bit of blue in her t-shirt. I don't often use anything with pink in it. It's not kind of my colour, but I don't know. There was something about this. It was nice, it was bright, it was cheerful. And it's sometimes good just to challenge ourselves a little bit to perhaps work with colours or things that we might not normally. So I've got my 4 basic cards there. I am just rounding the corners just with a small corner rounder thing, and yeah, I just like the way that looks. So on to the next stage, and I do want to start to incorporate some other colours just to try and unify each card. Now I use some white acrylic paint, and I also mainly use the Neo colours. I did think that I might use some of the craft paints, but it's just the way it went when I was working. It's just what I ended up using. Got a very old brush there, there's hardly any bristles left on it. And what I was basically trying to do here was just to get some of the colours that had been in my collage piece there, which had come from one of my painted masterboards that I can't remember if I did it with the Neo colours or if it was with the Inktense pencils, but just trying to get something that might fit in with that, not trying to make it a solid colour in the background, but you know, trying to bring those colours out a bit. And you'll see that I start to go onto the paper a little bit just to help blend it in. And the fact that I tore the edges there, that will blend in easier than if it was a straight edge. Now I was trying to be careful with this because this was the inkjet printer version, but I have to say nothing moved at all on it. And of course you can spray a fixative onto your inkjet pages if needs be, and that sometimes helps a little bit. So moving on to the next one, I'm working on the 4 at once, so I put them to the side, I let them dry while I work on the next one. And this is just some pink neon paint, but again I'll mix it with the white, and then just here starting to knock back some of that colour. And of course this had some very dark colour, the kind of, it was either black or perhaps a navy or something in the background. And just as I did that first week of the month with my painted masterboards, you know, when black is down there or a very dark colour, once you go over the top it mutes it a bit, but you still get that interest in the background. And that's what I like. I love to see different layers coming through. So doing a bit here with water, a bit with the white paint, and just starting to unify all of that. There, paint was a bit thicker, and all I did was to take that back a bit, and you can see that the pattern below it is still coming through. So I'm calling these mixed media postcards. They are, or could also be called, mail art postcards. This is something that, so long as everything is glued well down in place, on the other side I could simply write someone's name and address, and so long as I put a stamp on it, that can go into the mail. As I say, just need to be careful that everything is well glued in place, otherwise, well, you know, it can tear when it goes through the machines. But I think this would make a lovely bit of mail art just to go out in the post to somebody. And of course, if you're concerned that it might not make it to the person, then put it in an envelope and send it. You could stick a faux stamp on the background or even on the foreground if you wanted, on this side. With this one I decided I didn't want to add in too much colour at this point, so all I'm doing is taking some of the white paint just with some water on my brush and really just knocking it back that little bit. Last week with this I had added some ink just to try and bring it together, and I liked the effect of that, but here I just wanted to knock all of that back just a little bit. Now I'm taking the this Stabilo All. Just putting a little on, a little goes a long way. I just like my postcards to be darker around the edges. If you feel you've got too much on, add water. You can pull it out a bit more. You could take a baby wipe or a wet rag and that would lift it. So I ended up taking too much off there, so I do add some back in. If you didn't have a Stabilo All, you could use an ink pad, or you could use your Neo colour in black, or you could use an Inktense pencil. My brain and my mouth are not working in the same, they're not synced today, let's say. So yeah, just going round all the cards doing that. And what I'll also do in a moment or two is a little bit of outlining, just showing you there that you can actually just use your finger as well. If you wanted a kind of more of a smudged line that's still a bit more stand out. Gosh, I really am struggling with my words today. Anyway, swap that out for a smaller brush, because here I'm just going round the flower just to let it pop a little bit more. Just adds a little bit of shadow. Decide to do the same with her. Same again with this one. I'm basically using the same kind of technique on each one, but of course, just using the different collage elements, they all turn out very different. Adding in a bit of the brown neo colour, I just wanted that to bring it in a bit from the outside so it wasn't quite as stark looking. Now just adding a little bit around her and around the circle. Oh, I remember there that there's a little bit that was torn on her hat. I think this had come off an envelope, so it had torn slightly. So I just cut it out so it was still there, and I just added the top in with a bit of colour. So again, going round her. And then ready for the next stage. So I've picked out some words for each, and all I'm going to do is use my glue stick. I wasn't sure if the colour of that fitted, but I did notice there was some of that blue in the background, so it's fine. Here, just taking a pencil and going round the words. You could use a pen, you could use the Stabilo All. I just wanted pencil, a little bit softer. Now on to using my Sharpie paint pen. I just love the effect this creates, just with some dots. It's one of my favourite things to do. And just showing here different ways of doing it. You can outline things, you could just put 1 or 2 dots on something, make the words stand out a bit more. Lots of fun to be had with a pen like this. So this, I found this anyway to be a really enjoyable project. I loved doing it. I love doing collage like this. I love doing mail art postcards, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was such fun using the downloadables and just adding in a bit more collage with them. Some of them would be nice as backgrounds in their own right with other things collaged on, but I just wanted to use them this way. Go back to this card, it just wasn't quite doing it for me, and as soon as I added in these further dots, it then felt right. One final step, and that's just to go round them all in black. Now of course Nina will have a video this week, and I will leave a link to that below. And as I say, do make sure that you say in the group what prompt you're doing, because people sometimes go back a year or two to do others. So the first one was set your mood to positive. Next one, live. Embrace your spirit of adventure. Now I might send these out someday, I might put them in a journal. Oh, and discover. There's lots of things I could potentially do with these. The set your mood to positive, I might even stick on the fridge door for a while, so when I see it first thing in the morning I think, yeah, okay, let's try and be positive. We need positivity at this time. So those are the sheets again. When you're in the group, we'll let you know exactly how to access them. Feel free to print them off and use them for your own personal use. So thanks so much for joining me in the studio today. Look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care. Bye for now.